I always thought I was great at business. Once I figured out business, it seemed like everything I touched turned into gold until it didn't. Let me explain what that means. It wasn't that things went bad. It was just the grind, the overworking, the overwhelm, the burnout that I was ignoring started to affect everything in my personal life, my marriage, the relationship I had with my kids, the relationships I have with people outside of business, like at church, my small group. All those things started to become negatively affected in small increments that eventually added up. And then I look up and everything around me feels like chaos because I was overworked. It wasn't until I mastered these 7 habits that I realized that my business was giving me life and not taking it from me. Seven habits that I mastered so that my business could give me life and not take life from me started off with me realizing that my business had the innate ability to control my life if I was not careful of putting boundaries around what I did in my business. If I set the expectation for my business, I should be able to control the outcome. But your business, depending on what you do, could take off, and the demand for clients, the demand for making money, the demand for payroll and expenses could become overwhelming. And there are so many people that have a false reality of if I work more, then I can get more done. When in reality, I really believe that if you set the time that you want to work, you'd figure it out. These 7 habits had to be figured out around the time I needed to work and not the time I was sacrificing to work. Because in reality, I was burnt out, and even though I did 60 or 80-hour work weeks, I still got the same amount done if I actually focused on 40 hours and was very specific and focused about the work that I did. So let me go over these 7 habits. The first one I had to really get clear on was understanding that consistency beats out perfection. I was the type of person where if it wasn't done perfectly, I was extremely insecure about putting anything out. For example, content. I knew I had to put content out, but because I never did it, I wanted to look perfect like everybody else on Instagram and YouTube before I could even develop the skill to do it. So that stopped me from doing anything. It wasn't until I met a friend, Jared Taylor, that literally motivated me just to get out and do it. And he told me something very, very familiar. I knew this before. He's like, dude, just start putting things out. If you become consistent, you will perfect your craft and the content will start looking perfect to the right audience. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a concept that I teach my clients in all areas of business. Just start doing something. Perfect it as you go, and the consistency of you doing it and the time it takes to do it will produce massive results. That's why if you look at my YouTube channel, you see a lot of things out there. And if you go from the very beginning, you'll see how it was in the beginning until it is now. That is consistency over perfection, because my fear of perfection would have stopped me from even trying. You're probably watching this and feeling the exact same way. Let me help you with this habit. Just start something and focus on 1 or maybe even 2 things at most and get really good at it. And the only way to get good is by practicing it the right way. But in order to get the right way, you have to fail a little bit. You have to figure things out. You have to perfect your craft. So just get out there and do it. In business today, if you don't create content, you're really going to be obsolete in no time. The businesses that put out content versus the ones who don't, in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be evident which one wins. So if you haven't started something like content yet, start trying. Just put something out. Everybody that's perfected the craft today has started somewhere when they weren't even as good as they were. In anything, in any area of business, like if you want to have a better relationship with your wife or your spouse or your significant other, you have to start communicating. You might not be the best communicator, but you have to start. And so if you want perfection, it's only going to come through consistency. Now that I committed to consistency over perfection, the second habit comes in very handy because you need consistency. And that is the first 2 hours of the day need to belong to you. You have to get consistent with this because if you can't come to the table for your family or for your business in the right mindset, you're doing everything and everyone a disservice. The first 2 hours of the day had to belong to me. Number one, I have a relationship with God, and I believe He is my business partner. I co-create these businesses with Him, and if I don't spend consistent time with God, then I feel like everything falls apart throughout the day. My strength relies on His grace. So the first 2 hours of the day looks like this. I wake up, I get ready, and I read my Bible, and I have quiet time in prayer. Then I work out, and I put something in my system that's healthy. Those are my first 2 hours. Why is it important to be consistent with the first 2 hours of the day? Because that's when everything starts, and the first things you put in your mind are typically going to guide the rest of the day. If you start off on a bad foot and you wake up late and you roll out of bed and everything's chaotic, imagine the rest of your day. It's most likely not going to be peaceful. So if you can really take that quiet first 2 hours of the day before kids wake up, your spouse wakes up, and it belongs to you and God, then you set the tone for the day. And you could really create peace around all the priorities that you have as a business owner. On top of that, if you eat right and you work out, you have healthy endorphins running through your brain, and that's very healthy for you. If you wake up in a chaotic state of mind, you have cortisol running through your brain, which actually spikes your sugar, it spikes your blood pressure, it does all the negative things to your body, and you can actually get very, very sick. That's why I see a lot of business owners who burn out, and that burnout is followed up by extreme illness, whether it's something permanent or just a really bad cold, COVID, you name it. The first 2 hours of the day should belong to you and your creator. That's my rule, and I have to be consistent with that. Remember, habit one was consistency over perfection? This second habit of the first 2 hours of the day needs to be something you practice that consistency with. That is a habit that I believe sets the tone for everything else. So how do you start this habit? I'm talking to people, you might be watching me and saying, Coach Joe, you're crazy. I need to sleep. Here's the thing. If you sleep in the morning, it is most likely because you choose to sleep late at night. Here's something to change. Sleep earlier. Set an alarm. Make the decision today that the first 2 hours of the day belong to you and your creator. And if you don't do that, imagine the worst possible outcome happening. Now, if you're not used to waking up, then do something crazy. For example, I had to put my alarm clock in the bathroom so that I get up and I walk to the bathroom and I actually have to shut it off. By the time I get up and I walk over there, I'm pretty much awake and frustrated. But that turned into consistency, which was amazing. I also had to shut off my phone alarm. I had to stop depending on my phone alarm because it was easy just to snooze it. I literally got an old school alarm that was so loud that would vibrate off the countertop, vibrate off of something, fall, hit something. And I'm one of those people, I used to be in law enforcement. I get scared of any loud noise. I would get up like somebody was breaking into my house and I woke up. I had to kind of go to those extreme measures to make sure it happened. However, I knew from one of my mentors that if I did this, it would change the trajectory of how I made decisions because I felt better throughout the day. So once you master the second habit, which is to prioritize the first 2 hours of the day for yourself and your creator, then we can get into the nitty-gritty of things. The third habit is master your to-do list. When I say master, it's not about just putting a bunch of tasks on that list. Look, as an entrepreneur, your time is extremely valuable. The majority of that to-do list or that task list should probably be delegated in the first place, but that's a subject for another time. Where I really want to encourage you about building a habit around this is making sure that your to-do list has nothing but priorities. And let me tell you something, not every task is a priority. You might be the type of person that says everything is important, and to you, everything might seem important, and that's okay because I used to feel that way, and I still do. But if you had to look at your list of 20 things and you could only choose 2 to 3 priorities to be done that day, as stressful as it is, you would figure out quickly which ones are priorities. Now, if you want a guide on what priorities could be, if you look at the task and say, look, there is a very important thing pending on me completing this to-do thing or this to-do task, then that's most likely a priority. If you did that task today and nothing really happened tomorrow or a week later, it's probably not a priority. It's probably just a task that you have to get done. And let me tell you something. If that task is on your list for 5 days in a row, give it to somebody else on your team to do. Just do yourself a favor. Stop stressing out about a very long list. If you haven't done it in 3 to 5 days, my rule of thumb is it's probably not that much of a priority. The priorities are the things that go like this. Only you can do it, and if you didn't do it, it'd be devastating. Fair enough? So, habit number 3 is prioritize your to-do task list. Not prioritize it like do it, but look at every single task and make sure you identify the priorities. If you focus on that, I guarantee you your business will go to the next level. You'll hire the right people to take care of all the other tasks. And if you start focusing on your genius like that, oh my gosh, business will explode because your attention is where it needs to be. If you're finding this video valuable, hit subscribe if you want to see more like it. So habit number 3 is about prioritizing the things on your task list and identifying which are priorities. So habit number 4 is something you have to prioritize, and that is work-life balance. I like to take it even further. I call it work-life harmony. Because a balance is like this thing where you're on a balance and one thing's down and the other thing's high. And in order for the other thing high to come down, the other thing has to go high. And that creates just an imbalance. So I like to use the word harmonize because your business gives your personal life. And if your personal life has a lot of life to it, it affects your business in a very positive way. A habit to prioritize, which is our number 4 habit, is making sure that you understand that your life and your business should work parallel together and everything should be good. It doesn't mean you won't have challenges and failures to deal with, but for me, it looks like this. I wake up, I make sure that I'm taken care of. Then when my wife and kids wake up, they have food on the table, I can kiss them goodbye. I prioritize that. I have coffee with my wife when she wakes up. I love having conversations with her in the morning. And sometimes she doesn't want to talk about business. And I have to be okay with that. Sometimes she wants to talk about our relationship. And because my business is giving me time and money, I'm going to prioritize that conversation, the one that she wants to have. You know what else I'm going to prioritize? Coming home in the evening, making sure I have dinner with my family. And that's something we are actively working on because I travel a lot. So when I'm home, the idea is for me to be home for dinner the majority of the week versus not. Now, I love working. I really enjoy everything that I do. Across all 4 or 5 businesses that I have, I actually enjoy what I'm doing. So if I'm not careful, I can really unharmonize or unbalance my work-life schedule. So what does that look like? I'm in the office by either 8 or 9, depending on the days, and I'm gone by 5 o'clock, no matter what. And if it's something that my wife and I are going to do, like a date, that happens, okay? If I take out my teenagers, I have 2 teenage girls, I have to spend time with them. They're going to be gone one day, married, having kids. I'm really paying attention to that. I have to balance and harmonize my time with them. And guess what they also don't want to talk about? Business. You know what I'm saying? So with all that, I have to harmonize and balance when I'm working and when I'm really at home and with my family and being present. And when I'm home, my goal is to be present. My goal is to really spend time with the kids. Let me give you an example. Yesterday, and when you're watching this, it's probably going to be a month from now. However, yesterday, I was on my phone, on YouTube, watching some podcast. I was watching, I think, Myron Golden or Ryan Pineda. If you don't know who they are, Google them. Amazing Christian men of faith, but strong in business. And I love their content. I was watching it. And my son comes up to me with a car and says, "Daddy, would you like to play with me? I'll wait when you're done, but it would be really nice if you play with me." And he's 5, so he says it in a little 5-year-old tone. And my eyes start to water up because, number one, I'm probably not going to get that forever. He wants to play with me, and I have the opportunity to make a memorable moment for him that could last a lifetime. That is worth more than successful businesses to me. And then number 2, if I tell him no, I'm going to break his spirit. He wants to spend time with his dad. I'm going to break his spirit. You know what else I also prioritize? My weekends. I'm not working on the weekends. My Saturdays are there for the kids. All of them are in school. They probably have a soccer game or anything like that. I want to be present for that. And then Sunday, that is when we go to church. We worship together as a family. We go to the same church. We worship together. We prioritize our Sabbath. Then after church, guess what we do? As a family, we go out to eat. Those are things that I prioritize to balance and harmonize my life as a very busy entrepreneur. And that is a habit that I had to create a priority around to make sure my family understands that they are the priority and that all the hard work I put in has everything to do with me trying to build an amazing life for them. But if I don't spend time with them and all I'm doing is hustling and grinding and trying to build resilience and grit, they're only going to see an absent father making a lot of money, but nothing to put behind that. There's no spine behind that. And I really did not want that for my family. I already messed it up a few times, and I'm not going to do it again. So habit number 4 is making sure to harmonize and balance work and life. Life is not all about working. As a matter of fact, King Solomon says this in Ecclesiastes, everything is vanity. When you die, you won't be able to take into account all the weeks you worked 40 to 80 hours and boast about that. You're going to be dead. And the people left behind are going to remember you for only a few things. What do you want to be remembered as? What legacy do you want to build for your family? So habit number 4 is long lasting. You know, a wise person once told me that the only thing you could truly bring to heaven is your family if you led them well. Let that sink in. I know for me, it's a heavy burden to carry. Speaking of a heavy burden, habit number 5 is to protect your environment. A lot of us have habits and a lot of us have created environments that has brought us to where we are now, whether you're satisfied with it or dissatisfied with it. But your environment is key to success. And a habit to create around building an amazing environment is to ask yourself this question. If I do this, if I hang out with this person, if I allow this book or movie to influence me, how will it positively affect the decisions I make for my family and for my business? And will it give me life? Right? I love good movies. As a matter of fact, I'm an action person. I love actionable movies. I love all that stuff. However, there comes a point where I'm watching it too much to where my mind is only thinking about violence. Honestly, it is. But if I watch John Wick over and over and over again, which I like John Wick, by the way, I'm just thinking about becoming an assassin one day, right? And I'm off in La La Land trying to figure out how I could do all this stuff. And that seems funny, but it's true. You're probably laughing because you agree with me wholeheartedly. But the environment that I choose to place myself in, the habits around all of that, will literally affect the future of my business and whether my business will give me life, whether the environment I place myself in will give me life or take life from me. Your results have everything to do with the environment you place yourself in. What is environment? Well, your environment is people you hang out with. Your environment is the things that you watch and read. Your environment is where you choose to work and do business with. The business partners you choose to take on, the clients you choose to take on, those all affect your environment. You know what else affects your environment? Your decision to improve yourself. Do you have a set of skills, but it's just lacking? And you have the ability to get better, but you just don't want to do it? That is an environmental issue, believe it or not. It's not just an outcome. If you don't perfect your skill, or if you have a perishing skill and you don't take care of it, you don't create an environment to take care of it, your results in that area will keep diminishing over and over and over and over again. It's like working out. You could think about working out because you used to. It won't build you muscle. It won't make you healthy. Choose the mental environment around the discipline to go and do that, right? I remember Tony Robbins was the first person that I heard say this. He said, you have two pains in life that you'll experience, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. That has everything to do with your mental environment. And if you're suffering from the pain of regret and that's all you think about, you are negatively impacting your mental environment to get the results that you want to get. But if you yield to the pain of discipline and allow yourself to get better over time in small increments, that mental environment will produce great fruit, great results in how people see you, the actions that you choose to take, the behaviors that you have. All those things are the results of making sure that your environment is healthy. Something else that affects your environment is how you choose to think about yourself and the situation that you're in. You could be above the point of power, which is you take ownership, accountability, and responsibility for everything, or you can be powerless and below the point of power where you're just blaming, you're making excuses, you're in denial about everything. All those things, the way you think, affect your environment so much so that your results will come out of the environment you place yourself in. One of the most obvious things that affect your environment are the people that you choose to hang out with. If you hang out with 5 dumb people, you will soon be the 6th dumb person. But if you hang out with 5 successful people, you will soon be the 6th successful person. Your environment's everything. Even the Bible talks about it. Birds of a feather flock together, right? They all look the same. They smell the same. They act the same because your environment dictates how you act. That's why I believe, in Psalms where it says, don't hang out with the sinners because you become one. That's exactly what it is. Now, I'm not saying that to provoke you, but look, I take a lot of my wisdom and my advice and my business advice and my business wisdom from the Bible. So that's what you're going to get. So with that being said, it's really important who you decide to hang out with. And that brings me into habit number 6, which is protecting your time investment. Knowing where to place your hour blocks and who to actually serve, what to do in them, and who to talk to is really, really important. Every hour of the day should be dictated by how you protect your time investment. If you're a videographer and a business owner, there's certain time blocks where you're actually producing content and doing it for people and making money. And there should be certain time blocks that you're actually building your business. Some time blocks need to be with a mentor, somebody who's in the industry that can help you. Some time blocks need to be chosen specifically for you just to sit and think and be creative. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't prioritize that one enough, where you're sitting and being quiet and you're actually thinking about business and what you do and how to get better. If you had an hour a day just to think, imagine what you can come up with. I love my friend Jared. He loves to think. As a matter of fact, I think he overthinks, but it's in an amazing way, right? Every time we have a coaching session, we're just like, dude, I come up with another idea. And we're like, okay, let's make time for that, but let's get right into coaching. But this guy I admire so much because he literally takes minutes and hours and days sometimes just to think. And the things he comes up with, I'm like, dude, that is amazing. I have another client that prioritizes a certain block of time at night because he loves to sit in front of his fireplace, no matter if it's summer, winter, or spring, and just stares at the fire and thinks about his day and thinks about his future and thinks about all the things that he wants to do. And I'm like, I like fireplaces. I like watching fire. I probably should do that. I actually did that once for a whole week straight, and I'm like, wow, I have so much mental clarity because I opened up blocks of time to invest in thinking. As a CEO, as a high-performing entrepreneur, sometimes your best asset is your ability to sit and think and come up with solutions. When you have a problem in your business, you're losing money, you have clients that are unhappy, at times, all we want to do is hurry and try to fix the problem. And in essence, when we do that, we make it worse. Whenever my clients come to me with a problem, they're like, hey, somebody just quit on me, or a client just gave me a negative review, or this and that. I say, look, pause. Pause, take it in. It sucks. I get it. But protect that time investment, because if you're just going to stress out for a whole 2 hours or 3 hours straight, nothing will get done. And I guarantee you, you will not change the outcome in those next 2 or 3 hours. It's sometimes best to just take a day or two to think about the best possible solution, ask around, and utilize that investment of time to get wisdom from your source of strength than to go and try to make something happen and potentially make it worse. It sucks to have challenges. It sucks to get negative reviews. It sucks to have people quit on you, but you're not going to change it immediately. So protect that time investment of when you stress or you overthink. If somebody calls and says, hey, I want to have lunch with you, and you have no idea who they are, but hey, it could potentially be a good connection, you got to protect that time investment. So many people want to hang out with me now, and I'm not saying this to be a prideful person. It's just I only have a certain amount of hours I'm dedicated to work. I'm not going to sacrifice my family. That's an investment I will not sacrifice. So I'm starting to really evaluate who's asking for these coffee meetups and lunch meetups to see if it's worth the time investment. And if it's not, I offer another time where it will be conducive for me to invest some time without feeling strapped for value. Or I just say, hey, look, if you want to meet me, I have a free seminar coming up. Why don't you show up to that? Or something like that. Again, it's not to be cocky or proud. It's just when you start doing more and more things, you realize how limited your time is. And I'm already delegating 90% of my activities. And I'm still packed. And I do that because I'm only committed to working 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 on certain days, and I take the weekends off. I'm not doing anything over the weekends. And that is the investment I choose to protect. So your habit number 6 is to protect your time investments. Lastly, these habits will only get done if you can be accountable to yourself. And if you can't, you need to find accountability. So habit number 7 is choose accountability. How does that look? Well, if you've never done something, chances are it's because you don't know how to do it. So what's the best thing to do? Talk to somebody who's done it. Talk to somebody who has a skill set to accomplish the result that you're looking for. And if you're looking to be disciplined, if you're looking to actually master these habits, accountability is key. And accountability could be a mentor, a business coach, which I am, or both, or just somebody who is dedicated to your success that will consistently show up for you if you consistently show up to value their time. And let me tell you something. If you're paying $0 for it, you will not prioritize it. You know why? Because there's no skin in the game. That's why I say you need mentors that are free, and you definitely need to pay mentors and business coaches to kick you in the butt to help you get what you need to get, accomplish what you need to accomplish, do what you're supposed to do. I know for a fact I know how to work out, but I need accountability working out. You know why? Because I don't like working out. So if I want to get in shape, I need to hit my macros, I need to get to this body fat and all these things. I know for a fact that I understand it. I can even explain the theology of it. But ask me why I'm not motivated to do it. That's just how I am. So what do? I have accountability. I can hire a coach. And if I don't pay for that coach to get me in shape, then it's going to be easy to cancel on them. It's going to be easy to tell them tomorrow. It's going to be easy to say, you know what? I'm sorry. Thank you for your time. It's just not good for me right now. But if I'm paying $500 a month or $1,000 a month or whatever a month, I'm for sure going to show up. Especially if that coach says, no, I'm not going to give you a refund. No, we have a commitment for 6 months. And no, you will not get a refund. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show up. I'm going to work out. I'm going to hit my macros, because if I don't get it, I've wasted that investment. So accountability is key to success. Accountability is key to building habits, because if you don't have these already, you probably don't know how to do it. You probably have a theory around it, but developing habits, it's pretty much creating a discipline. And in order to create a discipline, you have to go through a level of pain and endure the pain and show up consistently. These are 7 habits that have changed the trajectory of my business so that my business gives me life and not takes life from me. Does that mean I'm going to be successful forever and never fail? No. As a matter of fact, failure is a part of all of this. When you build these habits, you don't just turn into a habit king or queen. You turn into a habit failure until you build up the resistance and you build up the discipline to make sure it happens consistently over and over again. I don't know anybody who's decided to create a habit and a discipline around that and 100% out of 100% of the time accomplishes it. If that's you and if that's somebody, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You're what we call a predictable control freak. You need to push yourself beyond a level of comfort, and you have to be afraid and excited at the same time for you to really be in the right spot. So failure is part of this game. Does that mean you stop? No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, in the Bible, Paul talks about the grace of God, and he says, look, does this mean that, you're not going to sin? No, you're actually going to screw this up. But does that mean that you should just give up altogether? Absolutely not. Failure is part of the game. Failure is a part of learning. Failure is necessary for you to understand how to create disciplines and resilience around these habits. And if you could do these successfully, your business will flip and you're going to see life coming from it and not taking it from you, because all of your priorities are set and the business understands what it's supposed to accomplish for you. So these 7 habits changed my life. It has created life through my businesses, and I'm sure my wife is enjoying the extra time I have with her. My kids will benefit from it. The people around me will benefit. This is how it works. Stay strong.